The sound of the kick echoed through the cabin. Every passenger turned as the flight attendant sneered. "Next time, keep your things out of my way." The black woman she'd just insulted didn't respond. She simply looked at her, calm, unshaken. Within seconds, security was called, cameras rolled, and as the humiliation unfolded in front of a full flight, the attendant smirked, believing she'd just put a difficult passenger in her place. But 3 minutes later, that same woman would make a single phone call and end the attendant's career before takeoff. The kick wasn't just careless, it was deliberate. The sharp sound echoed through the cabin, followed by the thud of a designer briefcase sliding across the aisle. Gasps rippled through the passengers. The flight attendant, Heather Cole, folded her arms. "Next time, keep your things out of my way," she snapped. The woman she'd just insulted, Ava Sinclair, slowly turned her head. Calm, elegant, silent. Her voice, when it came, was steady. "You just kicked my property." Heather rolled her eyes. "Then keep it where it belongs. People are boarding." Ava didn't argue. She simply leaned down, picked up the briefcase, and placed it back neatly under her seat. Around her, passengers whispered. A man muttered. "That was unnecessary," Heather smirked. "Mind your business, sir. I'm doing mine." But her business was about to end. Moments later, Ava reached for her phone, typed a message, and sent it with one word. "Now." Then she folded her hands, serene as if nothing had happened. 3 minutes later, the lead flight attendant approached, whispering nervously, "Heather, the captain wants to see you." Heather frowned. "For what?" He didn't say. "But you'd better go." When she disappeared toward the cockpit, murmurs grew louder. Ava remained perfectly still, her eyes on the window. Then the captain himself stepped into the cabin, flanked by a corporate operations manager and 2 ground agents. His face was pale. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said into the mic, "we're experiencing a brief delay." Heather returned seconds later, visibly flustered. The operations manager stopped her. "Miss Cole, step aside, please. What is this about?" she demanded. The manager's expression hardened. "It's about your conduct toward a passenger who—" He checked his phone. "Isn't just a passenger?" Heather blinked. "Excuse me?" The cabin fell silent. The manager turned to Ava. "Miss Sinclair, we're so sorry. Headquarters is on the line." Ava stood gracefully, her calm presence commanding more authority than any uniform in the room. "You're on speaker?" "Yes, ma'am." She nodded. "Good." She took the phone and spoke clearly. "This is Ava Sinclair, Chief Executive Officer of Horizon Air Group. I'm on Flight 217 to Boston. One of your attendants just assaulted a customer, your CEO to be precise, in front of 80 witnesses. The reaction was instant." Heather's face drained of color. "Wait, you're—" Ava turned to her. "You just kicked the hand luggage of the woman who signs your checks." Cameras came up everywhere. Passengers gasped. A teenage girl whispered to her mother. "That's her, Ava Sinclair. The CEO from the Forbes cover." Heather's voice cracked. I didn't know." "That's exactly the problem," Ava replied coldly. "You didn't need to know. You just needed to treat people with basic respect," the operations manager whispered into his headset. 2 corporate security officers boarded quietly from the jet bridge. Ava faced the crew. "You will treat every passenger on this flight with dignity today, and every day that follows. I built this airline to connect people, not to humiliate them." Then she looked at Heather. "Hand over your badge." Heather hesitated. "Please, Miss Sinclair, Your badge," Ava repeated with trembling hands. Heather unclipped it and placed it in Ava's palm. "Effective immediately," Ava said. Turning to the crowd, "This employee is terminated. Her supervisor will be suspended pending review." The passengers erupted in applause. Phones recorded from every angle. Some were already live streaming. Ava thanked the captain quietly, then addressed the crowd once more. "We'll depart shortly. I apologize for the delay and for what you witnessed. Accountability isn't a policy here. It's culture." As Heather was escorted off, she turned, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean to." Ava stopped her with a single glance. "Intent doesn't erase impact." The cabin fell silent again. The plane took off 15 minutes later. The energy on board was electric. Shock, admiration, awe. A few passengers approached mid-flight to thank her. One woman said, "It's about time someone stood up to people like her." Ava just smiled faintly. Standing up is easy when you know you're standing for something, right? When the flight landed, news crews waited at the gate. The story had already gone viral. Flight attendant fired mid-air after insulting airline CEO. Hours later, Ava stood at a press conference composed as ever. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. She raised her hand and silence fell. "What happened today," she said, "wasn't just about one rude employee. It was about something bigger. Power without empathy in this company. We don't care how high you fly if you forget who's on board with you." Her words trended worldwide within an hour. The clip reached 50 million views in 2 days. Other airlines issued statements of support. Diversity advocates called it a historic turning point for corporate leadership. A week later, Horizon Air introduced the Equal Wings Initiative, a company-wide reform to train every employee, flight crew to executive, on dignity and inclusion. The policy was named the Sinclair Standard. At the launch ceremony, Ava addressed her staff. "I was raised to believe respect isn't earned by title. It's practiced by choice. Every time we step onto a plane, we represent what's possible when humanity comes first." The room erupted in applause. Later that night, as she sat in her office overlooking the runway, her assistant entered with a single envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter from a passenger on Flight 217. It read, "Thank you for proving that power is strongest when it's kind," Ava smiled. Outside, the same jet she'd flown on earlier roared down the runway. She whispered to herself, "Dignity doesn't whisper, it commands," and the sky, for the first time that week, felt clean again. If you believe respect isn't earned by power, but proven through character, show it. Like this video, share it everywhere. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what moment hit you hardest. Subscribe,